Welcome to Stellar Sleep Tales. Settle in, let your shoulders drop, and allow your attention to narrow to a calm point. Tonight is not about forcing sleep, it is about understanding what your sleeping brain is really doing, and letting that understanding make you feel safe, steady, and ready to drift. Most people imagine sleep as a single quiet state, like switching a light off. In reality, your brain is about to perform a carefully timed sequence of operations that affect your memory, mood, health, and the way you think tomorrow morning. Knowing the shape of that sequence helps you respect it, protect it, and use it. Sleep unfolds in repeating cycles of roughly 90 minutes. Each cycle contains two broad families of states, non-rapid eye movement sleep and rapid eye movement sleep. Within non-rapid eye movement sleep, there are three stages, often described as Stage N1, Stage N2, and Stage N3. Rather than thinking of them as separate rooms, imagine them as lighting changes on the same stage. As the light dims, your brain's electrical rhythm slows, your perception loosens, and your physiology shifts into recovery mode. Then, at intervals, the light rises in a different color and texture as rapid eye movement sleep arrives, bringing vivid inner imagery and unique brain chemistry. The timing of sleep is coordinated by two forces that work together. One is your circadian rhythm, the body's internal clock synchronized primarily by light. Cells in the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus track day and night, telling the rest of the body when to promote wakefulness and when to release the brake. The other is the homeostatic sleep drive, a pressure that builds the longer you are awake. Chemicals like adenosine accumulate during the day and nudge your brain towards sleep. As you rest, that pressure gradually releases. When both forces align, the clock says night, and the pressure says it is time, you transition efficiently into your first cycle. The entrance to sleep is Stage N1, the lightest form of non-rapid eye movement sleep. Here, your brain shifts from the fast, desynchronized patterns of alert wakefulness into slower theta rhythms. Your thoughts begin to fragment. You may catch a fleeting image, a stray word, or the sensation of falling followed by a sudden jolt in a muscle. That jolt, often called a hypnic jerk, is a common part of this transition and not a sign of danger. Breathing becomes more regular, eye movements slow, and the boundary between inner and outer experience softens. Stage N1 does not last long, but it opens the door for the deeper work to begin. As you slide into Stage N2, the world fades further. This stage dominates the total time spent asleep. On an electroencephalogram, Stage N2 is marked by two signature patterns, sleep spindles and K-complexes. Sleep spindles are brief bursts of rapid brain activity that seem to shield you from waking in response to mild noises, acting like a protective curtain. K-complexes are large, slow waves that may help your brain decide whether a stimulus matters enough to wake you or if it should be ignored. Together, these patterns both preserve your sleep and support memory processes, helping to stabilize information encoded during the day so it can be integrated later. Deeper still is Stage N3, also called slow-wave sleep or deep non-rapid eye movement sleep. In this stage, your brain's rhythm becomes dominated by high-amplitude, low-frequency delta waves. Muscles relax, blood pressure decreases, and growth hormone is released, supporting tissue repair and metabolic health. A specialized clearance system called the glymphatic system increases fluid flow through channels around brain cells, helping to remove metabolic byproducts, including proteins that can accumulate during wakefulness. This cellular housekeeping is more efficient during deep non-rapid eye movement sleep than during the day, which is one reason why consistently short nights can leave you feeling mentally heavy and physically dulled. If deep non-rapid eye movement sleep is so restorative, a natural question arises: why not stay there all night? Because recovery is not the only task your sleeping brain must complete. Learning, creativity, and emotional regulation require different chemical settings and different patterns of network activity. After time in deep non-rapid eye movement sleep, your brain lightens to Stage N2 again and then enters rapid eye movement sleep. This phase is distinctive. Brain activity becomes fast and mixed in frequency, similar in some ways to quiet wakefulness. The eyes dart beneath closed lids, breathing and heart rate become more variable, and most skeletal muscles experience atonia, a temporary paralysis generated by brainstem circuits that helps prevent physical enactment of dream content. This paralysis is normal and protective, and it resolves as you exit the phase. Rapid eye movement sleep is often where dreams become elaborate, colorful, and emotionally charged. Brain regions involved in emotion, memory, and imagery, such as the amygdala, hippocampus, and visual association cortices, show strong activation, while regions that apply strict logical control tend to reduce their oversight. This shift explains why dreams can feel meaningful yet bend the rules of everyday logic. Not all dreams occur in rapid eye movement sleep, but those that do are typically longer, more narrative, and easier to recall if you wake during or right after the phase. Early in the night, rapid eye movement sleep periods are short. As the night progresses, they lengthen, which is why cutting your sleep near morning often trims the very segments that most influence mood and creativity the next day. Across the entire night, your brain alternates between these modes in cycles. A typical sequence moves from stage N1 to stage N2, then to stage N3, back up to stage N2, and into rapid eye movement sleep, before repeating. The exact shape of the sequence shifts with age, stress, and lifestyle. Infants spend a much larger portion of the night in rapid eye movement sleep, which may support rapid neural development and the formation of early sensory maps. In adolescence and adulthood, deep non-rapid eye movement sleep helps consolidate learning and restore the body, while rapid eye movement sleep supports integration of emotion and creative problem solving. With aging, deep non-rapid eye movement sleep tends to decrease, which can influence memory consolidation and next-day energy. The chemistry of sleep stages is as important as the electrical patterns. During non-rapid eye movement sleep, the levels of norepinephrine and serotonin released by brainstem neurons are relatively higher, helping to stabilize the quiet, synchronized rhythms of the cortex. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, plays a major role in reducing excitability, allowing large networks to settle into slow waves. In rapid eye movement sleep, acetylcholine rises while norepinephrine and serotonin drop, creating a permissive environment for associative imagery and vivid internal simulation. Adenosine, which increases with prolonged wakefulness, gradually declines across the night as sleep pressure is relieved. These shifts are not random, they set the stage for different kinds of neural computation. One practical implication is that the way you live through the day influences how well these systems operate at night. Morning light exposure helps anchor the circadian clock, making it easier to fall asleep at a consistent time. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors and can delay the buildup of sleep pressure if used too late. Alcohol may hasten sleep onset but fragments later cycles, often reducing the proportion of rapid eye movement sleep and increasing awakenings. Consistency in sleep and wake times improves the predictability of cycles, leading to deeper non-rapid eye movement sleep early and more robust rapid eye movement sleep in the final third of the night. A second implication is that memory is not a single process, so it benefits from multiple stages. Information you study during the day begins as a fragile trace distributed across the hippocampus and cortex. During slow-wave sleep, repeated coordinated bursts help transfer and strengthen that trace in the cortex, a process often called systems consolidation. During rapid eye movement sleep, emotionally significant material can be reprocessed in a low-stress chemical environment, allowing the brain to keep the facts while dampening the sting. Many people notice clearer thinking and more balanced feelings after a full night because these complementary steps have run to completion. If you are listening to this at bedtime, a gentle pattern interrupt can keep your attention engaged without raising your arousal. Consider this: some animals sleep with one hemisphere at a time, keeping one eye open to scan for threats. That flexibility reminds us that sleep has evolved to solve the problem of staying safe while offline. In humans, the solution blends muscle atonia during rapid eye movement sleep, stronger slow waves during deep non-rapid eye movement sleep, and a cycling architecture that spreads risk. Your brain is not switching off, it is switching tasks according to a schedule that has been shaped by survival. Another useful pattern interrupt is to ask a simple, calm question that lingers while you relax. What is the last detail from your day that does not need to be carried into tomorrow? As you consider that, notice how your breathing has already slowed. This is not a trick, it is your nervous system responding to predictability. The more you understand that each stage of sleep has a job, the less you need to fight for control. Letting the system run is how you get the most from it. Sometimes people worry when they wake briefly during the night. Brief awakenings are common at the edges of cycles and do not necessarily signal a problem. If you wake, avoid bright light, keep your body still, and let your attention rest on simple sensations like the weight of the blanket or the sound of your breath. The brain is designed to re-enter stage N2 and then continue through the cycle. Trusting that design reduces anxiety, and reduced anxiety makes it easier for the cycle to continue. For those who track their sleep, it can be tempting to chase perfect numbers. Remember that devices estimate stages indirectly and can be helpful for trends rather than absolutes. What matters most is the pattern you support: regular timing, morning light, reduced caffeine late in the day, and a wind-down routine that signals safety. When you align these habits with your biology, non-rapid eye movement sleep gets deeper, rapid eye movement sleep becomes more stable, and your days feel clearer. Welcome again to Stellar Sleep Tales. If calm, science-backed explanations help you relax while you learn, subscribe to stay close to this series. Each episode builds a deeper map of how the sleeping brain works, so you can make small changes that produce steady improvements. For now, notice that you do not need to remember the names of stages. It is enough to know there is a rhythm, that your brain understands it, and that your job is simply to give it time. Before we close, let one more thought settle. The purpose of sleep is not to escape life, it is to prepare you to live it well. Non-rapid eye movement sleep restores the body and stabilizes memory. Rapid eye movement sleep integrates emotion and imagination. The alternation between them is not a flaw or a quirk, it is the design. When you protect the full arc of the night, you are protecting your ability to think clearly, feel steadily, and create freely the next day. If this steady, grounded way of understanding sleep helps you unwind, keep listening to Stellar Sleep Tales. The next episode moves from the architecture of cycles into the inner experience itself, where vivid imagery and emotional color arise. For now, let your attention return to the simplest cues, the gentle rise and fall of the breath, the quiet around you, and the sense that your brain knows exactly what to do when you give it the chance. Good night, and thank you for being here. Your night's journey has already taken you through the gentler shallows of light sleep and the deep, slow currents of physical restoration. Now, your brain begins a transformation so dramatic that, on the surface, it almost looks like you've woken up. Beneath closed eyelids, your eyes start darting in rapid, purposeful movements. Heart rate and breathing pick up a subtle rhythm, and in the theater of your mind, scenes begin to form, not hazy flashes, but full, living worlds. You've entered rapid eye movement sleep, a stage where dreaming comes into its fullest form. In rapid eye movement sleep, your brain's activity becomes as electrically busy as it is during wakefulness. Yet your body remains almost entirely still, held in place by a protective mechanism that temporarily silences most voluntary muscles. Without this built-in safeguard, the actions in your dreams could spill over into real movements, a dangerous prospect given the intensity and unpredictability of dream events. This controlled stillness allows your brain to roam freely in a simulated reality, with no risk of harm to the body resting beneath it. Scientists have been fascinated by this stage ever since its discovery in the 1950s. They noticed that when people were gently awakened from it, they often described vivid, emotionally rich dreams, as if they had been plucked directly from an unfolding story. By contrast, waking from other parts of the night usually produced only fragments. This finding opened the door to decades of research, revealing that rapid eye movement sleep is not just about dreams, it's about emotional repair, creativity, and mental rehearsal. Here's a thought to hold on to: your brain, while you're lying still in bed, might be preparing you for challenges you haven't yet faced. One leading theory suggests that during this stage, your mind runs simulations, rehearsing responses to threats, testing solutions to problems, even exploring social situations. This might explain why dreams often feel charged with meaning, even if their surface details are bizarre. We'll come back to this idea later, but for now, let's look at what makes this stage so unique. The inner chemistry of rapid eye movement sleep is unlike any other time of the night. Neurotransmitters that keep you alert during the day, like norepinephrine and serotonin, dial down, creating a low-stress environment. Meanwhile, acetylcholine rises, boosting activity in the brain's visual and emotional centers. The amygdala, involved in processing emotion, hums with activity. The hippocampus, which helps consolidate memory, interacts with areas that generate vivid imagery. Logic-enforcing regions relax their grip, giving the dream narrative room to twist and shift in ways daytime thinking would never allow. Here's a subtle pattern interrupt: some of the eye movements you make in this stage seem to correspond to shifts in dream scenes, almost as if your eyes are following the action unfolding in your mind's theater. This has led researchers to ask whether we might, one day, read dream content by tracking those movements alongside brain activity. The answer is still in the distance, but the possibility has sparked ethical debates about the privacy of our inner worlds. Across a typical night, you'll pass through several rapid eye movement phases. Early ones are short, just a few minutes long, and follow deep restorative sleep. As morning approaches, these phases expand, sometimes lasting over half an hour. This timing means that cutting your sleep short often robs you of the very dreams that might be playing a key role in emotional balance and creative problem solving. From a developmental angle, rapid eye movement sleep takes up a huge portion of an infant's night, sometimes half of their total sleep time. In adults, it makes up about a fifth. The decline with age reflects changes in how the brain grows and reorganizes, but even later in life, this stage remains essential for emotional regulation and adaptive thinking. One of the more intriguing ideas about this stage is the overnight therapy hypothesis. According to this theory, rapid eye movement sleep allows you to revisit emotionally intense experiences in a calmer chemical environment. You keep the facts, but the sharp emotional sting fades, making the memory less likely to trigger a stress response in future. If you've ever gone to bed upset and woken feeling a bit more at peace, even if the situation hasn't changed, you may have felt the effects of this process in action. It's not only about healing from the past. Creativity researchers have shown that rapid eye movement sleep is linked to making unusual connections between ideas. People woken from this stage often perform better on tasks that require original thinking or problem solving. The brain's ability to combine unrelated elements into something new might explain the strange, inventive plots that dreams often weave. Another evolutionary theory suggests that dreaming in rapid eye movement sleep serves as a kind of safe mode training for survival. The threat simulation hypothesis proposes that our ancestors' minds rehearsed encounters with predators or social conflicts, making them more prepared for real dangers. Modern dreams might still tap into these ancient rehearsal scripts, even if the threats now take the form of missed deadlines or awkward conversations. Here's another pattern interrupt: there's evidence that some dreams in rapid eye movement sleep may help the brain test multiple versions of a problem solution in parallel. Imagine a chess player mentally playing out several possible moves at once, but here, the moves might involve how to navigate a difficult talk with a friend, or how to solve a design challenge at work. You might never consciously recall these dreams, but their influence could surface in a sudden flash of insight during the day. As the night's final cycles approach, rapid eye movement sleep can dominate the landscape. In these long, late-stage dreams, the brain may weave together threads from events, emotions, and stray thoughts gathered across days or even years. The narratives can be absurd or perfectly coherent. What matters is not their surface logic but the neural work happening underneath, balancing emotions, reinforcing learning, and knitting the pieces of your identity into a consistent whole. Brief awakenings can happen here too. Sometimes they give you a clear, lingering memory of the dream, sometimes just a feeling, the echo of an emotion without its storyline. If you roll over and return to sleep, you may slip right back into the same dream world, a sign that the brain's simulation hasn't finished its run. The next chapter, we've seen how rapid eye movement sleep offers the stage for vivid dreaming, but how does the brain actually create the dream itself? What decides which memories to pull in, which emotions to highlight, and how to stitch them together into a story? In Chapter 3, we'll pull back the curtain on the neuroscience of dream formation, revealing the networks and signals that transform scattered fragments into the immersive experiences you sometimes remember in astonishing detail. You've drifted through the calming landscapes of light sleep, past the deep restorative valleys, and sailed into the vivid worlds of rapid eye movement sleep. Now comes the real backstage tour, how your brain takes raw material from your day, mixes it with stored memories, adds a dash of emotion, and weaves it all into the immersive, often unpredictable theater we call dreaming. When you close your eyes at night, your brain doesn't simply flip through a highlight reel of your recent experiences. Instead, it enters a complex creative process that's equal parts memory work, emotional filtering, and improvisational storytelling. Think of it as a film director with a limitless archive, casting your memories as characters, your emotions as lighting cues, and your senses as the set designers. The question is, who, or what, is directing this show? Neuroscientists now know that dream formation is not controlled by one single dream center in the brain. Instead, it's the result of multiple networks working together. The limbic system, including the amygdala and hippocampus, plays a central role in processing emotion and memory. The amygdala fires strongly during dreaming, especially in rapid eye movement sleep, which may explain why so many dreams carry emotional intensity. Meanwhile, the hippocampus pulls from your memory bank, not to replay events exactly, but to provide fragments, a location here, a face there, a sound from long ago. Here's a subtle pattern interrupt. You might assume your brain prioritizes your most recent memories for dreams, but research shows it sometimes reaches back decades. A smell you haven't noticed in years, a color from a childhood room, a song that played once in passing, all can reappear without warning. Why? One theory is that your brain is testing connections across your entire lifetime of experiences, searching for patterns or solutions invisible in the daylight. The default mode network, active both in daydreaming and at rest, also plays a part here. During dreams, it appears to support the free-flowing association of ideas, allowing scenes to shift fluidly without the strict editing we impose when awake. Logic-heavy areas in the prefrontal cortex become less active, which is why you can accept impossible scenarios, flying unaided, speaking to someone who has passed away, or finding yourself in two places at once, without questioning them in the dream. But it's not all random. Studies using brain imaging have found that when you dream of specific actions, like running, speaking, or hearing music, the same sensory and motor regions active during waking life also light up. It's as if the brain is recreating the experience in full sensory detail, even without actual movement or external input. This may be why dreams can feel so convincing while you're inside them. One fascinating discovery involves memory integration. Dreams often combine elements that don't seem related at first. A coworker shows up in your childhood home, or you solve a problem from work while riding a train you took years ago on holiday. The brain may be testing how separate memories and skills interact, looking for useful connections. This could explain why some people wake with creative solutions or insights they didn't have the night before. Here's another open loop. In some controlled experiments, scientists have been able to nudge dream content by exposing people to certain sounds or smells during sleep. This technique, called targeted memory reactivation, can influence which memories the brain chooses to replay. The potential for future applications, from language learning to trauma therapy, is enormous, but it also raises questions about how far we should go in steering such a personal, private process. Emotion plays a starring role in dream selection. If something during the day leaves a strong emotional mark, whether joy or stress, it's more likely to appear in your dreams. This bias might serve a regulatory purpose, helping you rehearse responses to situations, or simply reducing the emotional charge over repeated exposures in the safe, simulated space of the dream world. That could be one reason why recurring dreams often feature emotionally loaded themes. Reshaping the dream itself? That's the open door we'll walk through next. Sometimes, though, the brain seems to use dreams to process problems more abstractly. Think of dreams that take your feelings and wrap them in metaphor. An argument with a friend becomes a storm at sea, or anxiety over a deadline turns into a race through endless hallways. These symbolic transformations are not just the stuff of psychology textbooks, they may be the brain's way of distilling complex emotions into images it can manipulate and explore. Here's a pattern interrupt to keep you leaning in. Not all dreams have a narrative. Some are more like immersive experiences, a sense of floating, a wash of color and sound. These may reflect activity in sensory areas without the storytelling overlay, or they could be fragments of memory replay that never solidified into a structured sequence. The brain doesn't always need a plot to make use of dream time. While much of dream formation happens in rapid eye movement sleep, other stages contribute. Lighter phases may replay shorter, simpler snippets, perhaps serving as warm-up acts before the richer productions later in the night. The alternation between these stages might allow the brain to balance emotional rehearsal, memory integration, and neural maintenance without overloading any single system. Another intriguing area of research looks at how personal relevance affects dream content. People often dream about things they're currently learning or practicing, and those dreams can improve performance, a phenomenon documented in musicians, athletes, and language learners. The more emotionally invested you are in a skill or subject, the more likely it is to find its way into your dream space. This might be the brain's way of tagging certain information as high priority for consolidation. We also can't ignore the role of chance. Even with all these influences, emotion, memory, relevance, there's still an element of unpredictability. This randomness might actually be beneficial, preventing the brain from getting stuck in repetitive patterns. By tossing in unexpected elements, dreams may increase mental flexibility, allowing you to think beyond habitual limits when you're awake. For all the science we've gathered, dreams retain an air of mystery. We can map the brain's activity, identify the chemicals involved, and find patterns in the content, but the exact why behind each dream remains personal. Two people can experience the same event and dream about it in entirely different ways, shaped by their unique histories, emotions, and neural wiring. As we close this chapter, keep this in mind for the next part of our journey. If the brain can build such rich, emotional worlds entirely from within, what happens when those worlds turn dark or frightening? In Chapter 4, we'll explore lucid dreaming, the rare state where you become aware you're dreaming and can influence what happens next. Could this skill be used not just for adventure, but for? The dream begins like any other, a street you half recognize, a sky that shifts with quiet color, a sound you cannot place. Then a small click of awareness passes through the scene and you realize you are dreaming. You are still inside the moving world of the night, yet a thin thread connects you back to waking clarity, and that thread changes everything. Lucid dreaming is simply this, awareness within the dream, the moment you notice the story and can choose to participate with intention. It does not require total control, and it does not break the magic. It adds a steady hand to the flow, letting you explore, adjust, and learn while the dream continues to unfold. For a long time many people dismissed reports of lucidity as exaggerations or confused awakenings. Careful experiments have now settled the debate. Trained dreamers fall asleep in laboratories with sensors on the face and scalp, enter rapid eye movement sleep, and send prearranged left-right eye signals to mark the moment they become aware. Those signals appear clearly against the restless background of dream sleep and arrive on command from inside the dream. Brain scans add another layer, showing increases in prefrontal activity compared with ordinary dreaming, as if parts of the reality-checking system have returned online. Together these findings confirm that lucid dreaming is a distinct and measurable state rather than a simple memory error. Awareness is the starting point, not the finish line. Many first-time lucid dreamers feel the scene wobble or fade the moment they recognize what is happening. Control is a trainable skill, built through small actions that anchor you inside the dream. You can look closely at your hands, read a line of text, or rub your palms together and feel the warmth spread. You can touch the ground, name what you see, or take a slow breath and listen for distant sounds. These simple choices lift sensory detail, strengthen the link to the scene, and reduce the urge to wake, letting the narrative continue while you stay present. If lucidity begins to slip, there are reliable ways to rescue it. One common method is to spin in place while reminding yourself that the body in bed is safe and still. The spinning floods your inner sense of movement and often pulls a fresh scene into view without breaking awareness. Another method is to declare a simple intention and then turn slowly toward where it should appear, such as a door to a calm beach or a room filled with warm light. The key is to keep the request gentle and the attention steady so the dream can cooperate without feeling forced. During the day you can plant the seeds for lucidity at night. Reality testing builds a habit of asking whether you are dreaming by pausing, checking details, and genuinely considering the answer. A dream journal strengthens recall and signals to your brain that dreams matter, which increases the chances of noticing them as they form. Sleep timing also helps. Waking briefly after 5 or 6 hours and returning to bed often drops you back into rapid eye movement with awareness close at hand. Above all, set a clear intention before sleep, a quiet promise to recognize the dream when it arrives. Several methods can be layered to raise your odds. With the memory intent technique, you rehearse a phrase as you fall asleep, such as "the next time I am dreaming I will notice," linking it to a recent dream sign. With the wake-induced approach, you relax the body while holding a thin thread of awareness as sleep begins, letting images assemble until the dream clicks into place around you. Gentle auditory or tactile cues can also be used, but they must be subtle enough not to wake you. The goal is to invite awareness, not to chase it. Once inside, people use lucid dreams for many purposes. Some explore vast landscapes and joyful flight simply for the feeling of freedom and wonder. Others rehearse real-world skills by practicing movements, speeches, or musical passages and waking with sharper confidence. Many sit with a question, then walk through a quiet doorway and see what answer the scene offers. Creativity thrives in this state because associations form more easily and fear of failure falls away. The point is not raw control, it is meaningful engagement, a dialogue between intention and the deeper systems that build our nightly worlds. Lucidity can also soften the sharp edges of recurring nightmares. When awareness arrives inside a fearful scene, you can pause and face the source, change the lighting, call for help, or tell the dream to slow down. Some find that simply turning toward the frightening figure and asking what it wants transforms the mood completely. Therapists sometimes combine these strategies with imagery rehearsal during the day, rewriting the script and then inviting lucidity to anchor the new version at night. The aim is relief, not suppression, giving the nervous system a safe rehearsal space to drain excess charge from difficult memories. Lucid dreams reveal that awareness is not all or nothing. It can grow brighter, dim, or appear in layers that include moments of doubt and moments of curious certainty. Some dreamers report false awakenings in which they rise, write notes, and only later realize they were still asleep. Others experience nested dreams, stepping from one scene to another like rooms inside a larger house. Studying these shifts helps us notice how the sense of being here is constructed in real time by attention, memory, and expectation, and how easily those dials can be adjusted inside the dream. Researchers have begun to test real-time communication with lucid dreamers. In these studies, people agree on signals before sleep, then answer simple questions from within the dream using eye movements or small facial actions. Some participants even solve basic arithmetic or respond yes and no, while the polysomnography confirms that rapid eye movement sleep continues uninterrupted. The exchanges are brief and fragile, yet they suggest that dreaming may become a place for interactive experiments rather than only morning recollections. If refined, this approach could open a new window into memory processing, learning, and the boundaries of conscious control. As with any powerful practice, there are trade-offs to consider. Pushing too hard for lucidity can fragment sleep by increasing awakenings and alertness during the night. Some people notice that extremely vivid dreams leave them feeling mentally taxed in the morning, as if they never fully let go. The remedy is balance and rhythm. Use lucid sessions as occasional deep dives rather than nightly missions, keep your sleep schedule steady, and track how you feel over time. Lucidity should support healthy rest, emotional processing, and learning, not compete with those foundations. There is also an ethical dimension to deliberate dream changes. Inside the dream, you can ask characters to speak, summon places, or dissolve frightening scenes, yet each action touches private memories and emotions. It helps to move with respect and curiosity, like a guest inside a living museum of your experience. When using cues or reminders from the outside world, keep them gentle and under your control. The dream is a personal space where autonomy matters, and outcomes are better when your intention is compassionate, exploratory, and aligned with your daytime values. A simple plan can bring your first lucid moments closer. For 1 week, record every dream you remember as soon as you wake, even if it is only a fragment or a feeling. During the day, pause several times and ask sincerely whether you are dreaming, then check a detail like a clock, your hands, or a line of text. Before bed, review a recent dream and choose one striking element as a sign to notice next time. Set an intention with calm words: sleep for 6 hours, wake briefly to reread your notes, and then return to bed inviting awareness to join you. With experience, you can refine your practice. Build metacognition during the day by noticing how thoughts arise and pass, and carry that gentle noticing into dreams. In lucid scenes, amplify stability by engaging multiple senses at once, tasting the air, feeling textures, listening for echoes, and naming colors out loud. Use simple directives rather than complex plots so the dream has room to respond. You can also set themes for the night, like meeting a wise guide, exploring a library, or practicing kindness toward whatever appears, then let the scene develop and follow where it leads. The most valuable part often happens after you wake. Record the dream in clear language, mark where lucidity began, and note what helped stability or broke the scene. Then look for gentle insights rather than grand lessons. Did facing a fear inside the dream reduce your stress the next day? Did practicing a skill change your confidence? Over weeks you will see patterns in the link between intention, emotion, and imagery. That feedback loop guides your next session and keeps lucidity in service of your larger goals for rest, learning, creativity, and emotional balance. Stories about conscious dreams appear across cultures, from ancient texts that describe dream yoga to personal diaries of explorers and artists who found inspiration at night. What has changed is the ability to measure and train. Sleep science gives us tools to verify states, chart stages, and test small interventions that improve reliability. At the same time, the heart of the practice remains human and simple, paying attention with kindness to whatever appears. Between those poles, measurement and meaning, lucid dreaming becomes a bridge, letting modern methods support a very old way of knowing yourself from the inside. Here is a useful pattern interrupt to remember. Sometimes the wisest choice is to loosen control and listen. If the dream resists a change, try asking it to show you what you need to see, then wait. Very often a new scene opens that answers the question in a way you would not have scripted. This cooperation keeps the experience stable and reveals material that strict control might miss. In this light, lucidity is less about power and more about relationship, a respectful partnership with the systems that restore and reorganize the mind every night. Looking ahead, the frontier lies in careful integration with well-being. Training protocols that respect sleep architecture, gentle sensory prompts that nudge recall without disruption, and clear personal guidelines will keep the benefits high and the costs low. In your own practice, you can treat lucidity as a workshop that opens now and then, where you meet emotions, test ideas, and practice how you wish to respond in waking life. When the session ends, let sleep return to its quiet rhythm so the body can do its deeper work. In the next chapter, we will turn to nightmares and discover how even the darkest dreams can realign emotion and restore balance. Measure progress with kindness. Success is not counted only by spectacular flights or elaborate scenes but by small moments of noticing and the ease you carry into the following day. If you sleep better, feel calmer, or approach challenges with more creativity, the practice is working. Give yourself nights off, protect the bedroom environment, dim lights before bed, and avoid urgent screens so the transition into sleep is smooth. When you wake from a lucid dream, take a minute to breathe and thank the mind for its craft. That simple gratitude reinforces safety, which in turn supports the next experience. Hold one idea as you close your eyes tonight. Awareness is a light you can carry gently, not a spotlight you must force. If it brightens, follow it with curiosity. If it fades, let it go and rest, trusting that practice accumulates beneath the surface. In time you will step into dreams with steadier footing, shape them when it helps, and release them when it is wise, learning from both the guiding and the letting go gently. If your nights sometimes turn dark, you're not broken. Nightmares are a natural part of how the sleeping brain handles fear, stress, and memory. They can feel overwhelming in the moment, but they're not a moral verdict or a permanent trait. Think of them as intense rehearsals staged by a system that's trying, sometimes clumsily, to help you adapt. Once you understand how they form, why they repeat, and how to work with them, the edge softens. Even the darkest scenes can become information, guidance, and, with practice, relief. Nightmares are vivid dreams that wake you with strong emotion, most often fear, anxiety, or grief. They typically occur in REM sleep, when the brain's visual and emotional networks are highly active and the body is kept still. In a nightmare, that emotional intensity spikes, the story narrows around threat, and the jolt of arousal pulls you to the surface. Your heart may race, your skin may feel cold, and the room can seem unfamiliar for a few moments as the dream residue clears. Importantly, you are awake and oriented after a nightmare. That distinguishes them from night terrors, which erupt from deep sleep, involve agitation and confusion, and leave little or no imagery behind. What pushes a regular bad dream into nightmare territory? The ingredients are familiar: stress, unresolved emotions, disrupted sleep, medication effects, and sometimes alcohol or withdrawal. Illness and fever can add fuel, as can pain and breathing disturbances. For some people, trauma imprints a strong template that the brain revisits, directly or symbolically, until the charge reduces. The brain isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to learn, to file, to def on. When that process stalls, the same themes recur, like a file that refuses to save, reopening night after night. Two big ideas help explain why nightmares exist at all. One is threat simulation. In sleep, the brain runs scenarios involving danger so you can rehearse responses without real risk. The other is affect regulation. REM sleep is a space where emotion and memory meet, allowing the nervous system to reprocess difficult experiences and reduce their sting. Most of the time, that works in the background. Sometimes, especially under heavy stress or after trauma, the rehearsal overwhelms the stage. The scene feels too real, too close. That's when you experience a nightmare. Under the hood, the amygdala, the brain's quick response alarm, fires strongly in many nightmares, while areas that do reality checks are less active. Neurochemistry shifts in REM as well, changing how memories are retrieved and updated. Details from the day, older memories, and symbolic stand-ins can blend into a single intense image. That's why a nightmare may not match your life events literally, yet still feel deeply personal. The brain speaks in composites and metaphors at night. The message is emotional first, narrative second. Patterns matter. If you track your dreams for a week or two, you'll often see repeated settings, characters, or sensations: being chased, teeth crumbling, an exam you forgot to study for, a house with endless rooms. Each has a personal meaning, but across people, these scenes commonly point to themes: pressure, vulnerability, exposure, change you don't feel ready for. The goal is not to decode with a dictionary. It's to notice how your life, your stressors, and your coping habits show up on the dream stage. That awareness gives you handles you can actually use. There's an important distinction between idiopathic nightmares, no clear cause, and trauma-related nightmares. The latter can replay the event directly or remake it symbolically. They deserve particular care and patience. If nightmares are frequent, severe, or tied to trauma, professional help is wise. Techniques exist that reduce their intensity and frequency without numbing you. You are not stuck with what your nights are doing now. One of the most practical tools is imagery rehearsal. During the day, you write down a nightmare in simple terms, choose a specific change that makes the story safer or more resolved, and then mentally rehearse the new version for a few minutes daily. You're not suppressing the dream, you're teaching your brain a new script to try. Over days and weeks, many people notice the original nightmare softening, shortening, or transforming. The method is gentle, portable, and does not require you to confront every detail to be effective. Lucid dreaming can also help, but it's not a requirement. If you become aware inside a nightmare, you can try straightforward stabilizers: pause, breathe, look at your hands, speak clearly to the scene. Then choose a simple action that lowers threat: call for light, ask the figure to slow down, step through a door to a safe place, or say, "I want to understand." You're not fighting the dream, you're negotiating with it. Even a tiny success, staying one breath longer without waking, can reshape the next night's pattern. Because nightmares feed on arousal, small changes in rhythm can produce outsized gains. Keep your sleep window steady so REM isn't compressed to the edges of the night. Reduce heavy late-evening news, heated debates, or bright screens that keep your mind revving. Create a short, predictable wind-down ritual: dim lights, a warm shower, gentle stretches, a page of journaling that signals safety. If you wake from a nightmare, sit up, sip water, turn on a soft light, and orient to the room: today's date, where you are, one thing you can see, hear, and touch. Then write 2 or 3 sentences that gently reframe the ending. This gives your brain a clear, calmer memory to store. Breathing and grounding are surprisingly effective in the middle of the night. Slow your exhale, count 4 in and 6 out, or trace a square with your eyes: across, down, across, up, matching your breath to the sides. Name 5 things you can notice with your senses. These simple anchors tell your nervous system that the threat has passed. If your heart keeps pounding, sit up for a few minutes, place a hand on your chest, and feel the warmth. You're teaching your body what safety feels like, so it can find it faster next time. Sometimes the fix is indirect. Caffeine late in the day, irregular meals, dehydration, and a too warm bedroom all raise nighttime arousal. Alcohol may knock you out, but it fragments sleep and rebounds with stronger early morning REM, which can amplify nightmares. Gentle morning light stabilizes your body clock, regular movement reduces stress chemistry, even 5 quiet minutes outside can lower your baseline. None of these is dramatic, but together they lower the waterline so fewer waves spill over at night. Nightmares can also carry specific messages worth hearing. If the dream keeps putting you back in school, what part of your current life feels like a test? If you're lost in a house, what room of your life needs attention? You don't have to analyze every frame. Choose one small, compassionate action that answers the theme, a conversation, a boundary, a piece of unfinished work, a break you've avoided. When the waking problem shifts, the dream often follows. For children, reassurance and routine help most. Keep explanations simple. Bad dreams are stories the brain makes when it's tired and learning. A nightlight, a comfort object, and a short, shared breathing exercise can be powerful. For adolescents, normalize stress and teach small tools they can own, journals, grounding, one reliable wind-down ritual. For older adults, review medications and health changes, pain, illness, and certain prescriptions can tilt dreams darker. If nightmares escalate, cluster, or come with flashbacks, intense avoidance, or daytime hypervigilance, consider involving a clinician experienced with sleep and trauma. Evidence-based therapies exist that respect sleep architecture, reduce nightmare frequency, and improve daytime functioning. Getting help is pragmatic, not dramatic. It's the same logic you'd apply to any stubborn problem that's stealing energy. Keep an eye on how you talk to yourself after a bad night. Catastrophic self-talk, "Here we go again, I'll never sleep," primes the next night's worry. Replace it with a calm script you can actually believe, "That was hard, my body's calming down, tonight can be different." It's not about positive thinking, it's about accurate, steady steering. Your brain listens to your tone. Over time, track your progress by how quickly you settle after waking, how often you can alter a dream ending on paper, and whether daytime tension lightens. Spectacular changes are rare, steady ones are common. A nightmare that used to wake you 3 times may now appear once and resolve faster. A theme that felt inescapable might morph into something manageable. Celebrate those shifts, they're the system learning. If you're ready to try a structured reset, give yourself 7 nights with a simple plan. Each evening, finish work and messages earlier than usual. Spend 10 quiet minutes writing, one stress you're carrying, one value you care about, and a gentler ending to any dream that lingered. Read the new ending twice. Do 3 rounds of slow breathing, then lights down. If you wake from a nightmare, orient to the room, write 2 calm lines, and repeat the gentle ending. In the morning, jot a few notes. At the end of the week, review the patterns and adjust one daytime stressor you can control. None of this requires you to love nightmares or pretend they're gifts. It asks you to treat them as signals and training grounds rather than enemies. That shift in stance, curious, steady, respectful, changes the physiology that feeds them. You reclaim agency not by forcing your dreams to obey, but by giving your brain better material to work with and better conditions to learn in. Night by night, the nervous system notices, and the stage quiets. As you settle back into your evening routine, hold a modest intention. If a difficult dream arrives, may I have one more breath of space inside it, or 1 degree more calm after it. That is a perfectly sized win. In our next chapter, we'll follow the thread from fear to integration and explore how dreams reshape emotional memories, why some fade cleanly, why others stick, and how the sleeping brain turns raw experience into wisdom you can carry in daylight. Tonight we turn toward the tender work your sleeping mind performs on feelings. This is not about erasing pain or pretending events were different. It is about the quiet editing that happens when you drift, the reshaping of tone, the softening of edges, and the strengthening of meaning. Dreams are the workshop where emotion and memory meet. Scenes arise, merge, and separate, while your body rests. You wake with the same facts, yet the feeling changes. Less sting, more space. Sometimes clearer resolve. Sometimes gentler distance. This chapter shows how that happens, and how to work alongside it. Each night. Begin with the cast. One system tags experiences with urgency, another files details into context, and a quieter set of regions helps you step back and evaluate. During dreaming, their conversation changes. The alarm system still notices threat, yet it loses the push to flood you with stress chemistry. The filing system replays pieces of scenes and blends them with older material. The reflective system peeks in and out, letting you see options without too much judgment. Together they recut yesterday's film. They keep the story, adjust the score, brighten frames, and lower others. You wake to a kinder edit. Think of memory as a scene that can be reopened and saved again. Each time it reactivates, details and feelings can update before the file closes. Sleep is a prime window for this reconsolidation. The dream supplies a safe stage, removes most of the body's ability to act, and lets your mind experiment. The same argument can feel less sharp after the night. The same loss can hold more warmth beside the grief. You did not forget. The emotional weight simply moved, like shifting a heavy box to a better shelf, easier to carry when you need it next time. Here is a helpful pattern interrupt. Dreams rarely replay events literally. They remix components into symbolic scenes that carry similar feeling with less direct threat. A meeting becomes a stage. A traffic jam becomes a maze. Old houses return, classrooms reappear, corridors lengthen. Your mind is testing interpretations and responses. Because the facts are disguised, you can approach the heart of the matter without flinching. That distance is not avoidance. It is exposure at a tolerable dose, repeated across nights, until the alarm relaxes and the message lands. Safety grows through many small, creative trials, not single dramatic victories either. Another quiet process unfolds while you sleep. The brain trims clutter around emotionally loaded events, preserving essentials and discarding noise. Background faces fade, incidental sounds drop away, and the core sequence stands out. This pruning is not loss, it is clarity. With fewer distractions, the lesson emerges. You may remember less, yet understand more. When you think back, the outline is simpler, the meaning cleaner, the feeling steadier. This is why a week later the story can seem shorter, but your response is wiser. The editing improved the signal-to-noise ratio, and your day benefits from that shift tomorrow. Unresolved feelings need gentleness. Dreams provide both closeness and distance, turning toward the sensation while changing the surface. Anger can appear as fire contained in a brazier instead of a wildfire. Sadness can become rain that passes, leaving bright air. Fear can take the shape of a hallway you walk with a steady guide. None of this is mystical. It is your nervous system running safe simulations. With repetition, the intense charge separates from the memory. The image remains, but it no longer drags your heart. You still care. You simply are not pulled under by the first wave again. You can collaborate with this process. Before sleep, spend a few minutes imagining a calmer ending to a recent stressful scene. Keep it simple and believable. Picture the room brighter, your voice steady, the conversation respectful, your body at ease after. This is not fantasy. It is rehearsal for a feeling. The image gives your sleeping mind a thread to pick up. Many nights it will, weaving that tone into dreams, and then into tomorrow. Do this gently, without pressure. If nothing changes the first time, repeat another evening. Small, consistent intentions often shape the biggest shifts over weeks ahead. If you practice lucid dreaming, you can take a further step. Enter with a quiet intention to visit a safe place, invite a wise figure, or ask to see the situation from another angle. Keep actions modest. Look around, touch the ground, speak slowly. Rather than forcing outcomes, ask the dream to show a helpful version and wait. Often a scene arrives that carries the message without the original sting. This does not change history. It changes how your body stores the feeling tied to that history. Later, you can remember the event with steadier breath and clearer choices after. Emotional editing needs a stable stage. Keep a steady sleep window so your cycles run their full course. Give yourself a short wind down with dim light, quiet stretching, and one page of notes that name your main feeling and one small action for tomorrow. Reduce heavy news late. Keep caffeine earlier. Cool the room slightly. None of this is glamorous, yet together they lower baseline arousal so dreaming can do its work. If you wake in the night, orient gently, sip water, breathe slowly, and write 2 steady lines that close the scene with care. Then return to rest. Relationships live at the center of many dreams. Arguments resolve into quiet talks. Distances shrink. Faces you miss stop by and sit with you for a moment. This is not only comfort. It is maintenance of your social world, keeping bonds active, easing frictions, and updating maps of trust. After nights like these, you may feel more forgiving, more able to listen, more grounded in belonging. The facts of each relationship remain, but the tone shifts toward steadiness. That can change how you show up the next day, which then changes what happens, which then feeds back into sleep again. Stress narrows attention and magnifies threat. When you carry that state into bed, dreams often mirror it. By lowering the daily load even slightly, you give your nights room to widen perspective. Short walks, morning light, steady meals, and brief pauses between tasks matter. They are signals that you are safe enough to shift gears. The payoff appears at night as scenes with more choices and in the morning as emotions that are less sticky. Over time, the loop runs cleaner. You change the day to support the night, and the night reshapes the day to support you in turn. Here is another pattern interrupt. Memory is not only an image in the head. It is a posture, a breath, a set of muscles preparing for what might come. When dreams retune a feeling, they also retune the body. You may wake standing a little taller, jaw loose, shoulders warm, breath deeper. That is not imaginary. It is the physical side of emotional learning. If you support it with a gentle stretch or a brief walk, the change settles more fully. You are teaching your whole system a safer response, and the next memory will likely arrive softer and steadier. Grief deserves its own mention. Dreams often weave lost voices and familiar places into quiet visits. You might share a meal, hear a laugh, or walk a known path without the reality of absence crashing in. On waking, the loss remains, yet there is a trace of warmth mixed with the ache. This is not denial. It is continuing bonds, updated so you can carry love without breaking each time it stirs. With patience, the waves smooth. You remember with gratitude and sorrow together, and both are true. Sleep made room for that honest, livable mixture to grow over time. Emotional memory links to skill learning as well. When practice feels safe and rewarding in dreams, you return to the task with less hesitation. A difficult passage on an instrument may appear fluid at night. A presentation may unfold with clarity and calm. You wake carrying that tone, and suddenly the practice room feels friendlier. Improvement accelerates because resistance fell. You did not gain hours. You gained willingness. That is the invisible boost sleep grants to learning. By caring for your nights, you make space for confidence to grow alongside skill, and both follow you into the day with ease. When nightmares appear, they are not failures of this system. They signal that the load is high or the rehearsal is too intense. You can adjust conditions and scripts. During the day, write the nightmare in plain lines, change one moment to create safety or support, and rehearse the new version briefly. At night, your mind often tests that revision. If lucidity arises, you can slow the scene and apply the change inside the dream. Even without lucidity, repetition works. The aim is not to suppress content. It is to teach the body a calmer way through, night after night. Track changes that matter. Each morning, write a few sentences about any dream you remember, underline the dominant feeling, and note how that feeling compares to yesterday. Add a line about one small helpful action you can take today that matches the lesson. Over a month, patterns emerge. You will see certain themes softening, certain choices repeating, and certain times of week that need extra care. This is practical biofeedback. It keeps the loop conscious without turning it obsessive. You are not scoring yourself. You are listening, adjusting, and letting the night's guide gentle, realistic steps in daylight for you. Hold a respectful stance toward your dreams. They are private spaces created by your history, biology, and values. When you intervene, do it with care. Aim to support safety, understanding, and integration, not domination. If a scene resists change, pause and ask for what you need rather than forcing it. You can say, "Please slow down," or "Show me a helpful view." This cooperative posture maintains stability and reduces awakenings. Over time, you learn when to guide and when to listen. That wisdom carries back into waking conflicts, where patience and clarity often accomplish more than force for both sides. Across cultures, people have used dreams to make meaning and to heal. Traditions teach sitting with images, speaking to guides, and carrying lessons into the day through songs, art, or small rituals. Modern measurement adds tools without replacing that human core. You can borrow whatever is helpful. Keep the essence simple. Pay attention, write what you see, breathe, move kindly, act on one insight. This unites the old and the new. It turns the night's private cinema into a steady companion for growth. The science describes mechanisms. Your practice provides direction and care, which is what changes life over time. As you settle tonight, remember that memory and emotion are still in motion. They are not fixed stones. They are clay. Sleep is the wheel in water, and dreams are your hands learning the right pressure. Invite warmth, choose steady breath, and let the night do its subtle craft. In the morning, act on one gentle lesson to confirm the new pattern. Then watch how the day changes. Ahead, we will explore how dreams prepare the future as well, rehearsing actions, sparking creativity, and strengthening motivation before events even begin. That is the next doorway we will open together, soon. Before you close your eyes, set one small intention for kindness toward yourself tomorrow. It can be a pause between meetings, a glass of water, or a patient conversation. Let your last thought be a simple line, "I can learn while I rest." Then let go. The night will carry you. When you return, we will continue with how dreams prime action, feed insight, and support creative problem solving in ways you can use every week. For now, breathe, soften your jaw, and drift. The editor is ready. The theater is quiet. The story will take good care of you. You've seen how dreams reshape memory, how awareness can step inside the dream, and how even nightmares can carry the seed of healing. Now it's time to look forward, not to what dreams take from the past, but to what they give to the future. Every night, in the quiet theater of your mind, rehearsals are taking place. These are not empty reruns. They are living, dynamic test runs for the life you haven't lived yet. The rehearsal begins before you even know it. You finish your day, carry thoughts and emotions into the night, and somewhere in the first cycles of sleep, those fragments start blending. Your brain calls on memories, skills you've been practicing, challenges you've been worrying about, and threads them into scenes where you can test responses without real-world risk. Sometimes you notice this process in a dream you can recall. More often, you wake with an inexplicable readiness, a lighter feeling when thinking about a meeting, a strange comfort about a task you'd been avoiding. Planning by daylight can be rigid. You evaluate options, weigh pros and cons, and sometimes overthink until the window for action closes. In the dream state, planning loosens. The rules bend. You can experiment with approaches you'd reject awake, and the system that governs fear and inhibition dials back. In that space, the brain can discover moves you'd never find in the bright, structured glare of a meeting room or a busy street. The gift is subtle but powerful. You wake primed to begin, often without remembering why. If you've been learning a movement, whether it's a piano passage, a new swim stroke, or a technical skill, that rehearsal becomes physical. During sleep, especially in the vivid scenes of rapid eye movement sleep, the brain's motor and sensory regions light up in patterns that echo real-world practice. You might dream of your hands on keys, your body in water, your voice in perfect timing. These aren't mere fantasies, they're neural reactivations. Synapses that strengthened in the day fire again at night, sharpening timing and control. You wake with movements feeling more natural, less like something you're forcing and more like something you own. Cognitive challenges benefit in the same way. Some problems demand brute force, others insight. Dreams are insight-friendly. They shuffle context, connect unrelated memories, and dissolve the mental walls that separate ideas. A detail from a book you read months ago surfaces next to a conversation from yesterday. You see the problem from an entirely new angle. Maybe the solution arrives fully formed, maybe you just feel drawn toward a more effective path. The source feels mysterious because the logic wasn't verbal. It came through imagery, association, and emotional testing, the brain's other language. Creativity thrives in these nightly workshops. Without the editorial voice constantly correcting or censoring, concepts mingle freely. A sound blends with a texture, a color with a movement, an idea with an unrelated memory. In daylight, you might brush this off as random, but randomness in dreams is often deliberate diversity. The mind protects innovation by encouraging ideas to mix in ways you wouldn't plan. Sometimes what you take from a dream is not the literal image but the emotion it left, a tone you then pour into your art, design, speech, or solution. Social rehearsal runs parallel to all this. Many dreams are peopled with familiar faces, imagined characters, or hybrid composites of both. These are not accidental extras. They're the stand-ins for situations you need to navigate, the colleague you're about to pitch to, the friend you need to reconcile with, the stranger whose approval you'll need. In dream space, you can test different greetings, adjust your tone, change your timing, and feel the shift in your body before the scene ends. The benefit isn't measured in perfect scripts but in reduced tension. In waking life, you show up less braced, more open. You can help your mind choose what to rehearse. Before you sleep, imagine the moment you want to prepare for. Keep it simple: the first minute of a presentation, the moment you open the door to a conversation, the instant you sit down to solve a problem. See it, hear it, feel it, but don't cling to the image. This isn't about forcing the dream to obey, it's about handing it a useful seed. By letting go, you give the deeper parts of your mind permission to work in their own way. Even without lucidity, these seeds often sprout. You might wake recalling a dream that touches the subject directly, or you might find yourself behaving more fluidly without quite knowing why. If you do become lucid, you can step into the rehearsal with awareness. First, steady the scene, look around, touch a surface, take a slow breath. Then invite the scenario to begin. Speak to a dream character, walk into the setting you've been imagining, or simply declare your intention to practice. Keep the rehearsal short and focused. The goal is to encode readiness, not to run the entire play in real time. Not all rehearsals show their work in obvious ways. You may have no memory of dreaming about the topic at all. That doesn't mean nothing happened. Much of this learning is implicit, stored in muscle memory, breathing patterns, and nonverbal responses. Notice instead how you start, whether hesitation has eased, whether your words come more easily, whether the first small barrier feels lighter. That's the evidence that the rehearsal ran quietly in the background. It's important not to turn every night into a performance lab. Your brain needs nights to wander without assignment, to repair, integrate, and reset. If you keep the rehearsal light and occasional, you protect the variety and depth of your sleep. 1 or 2 targeted evenings in a week, surrounded by unstructured nights, often yield better results than constant focus. Think of rehearsal as seasoning in a meal, enough to enhance, never enough to overpower. When pressure is high, rehearsal can slip into worry loops. This is when dreams repeatedly set the stage for the same problem without offering resolution. If you notice that pattern, scale down your request. Instead of preparing to win the whole negotiation, focus on rehearsing a calm greeting, or a single clear sentence. When the ask is within reach, the dream space shifts from stress to exploration, and you wake with something you can immediately apply. You can also pair this approach with subtle cues. A faint scent linked to your chosen scenario, a gentle piece of instrumental music connected to your practice, introduced briefly in the evening, can act as a bookmark. The scent or sound should be mild and familiar, something that won't jar you awake if your sleeping brain touches it again. You're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, not building a spotlight. Teams and partnerships can harness this too, without sharing any private dream content. You simply agree on a shared target, a meeting, a performance, a joint decision, and end the day with a brief, positive preview of success. In the morning, you notice together whether your starts feel smoother, whether friction has eased. The connection is often subtle, but momentum builds when more than one mind has rehearsed the opening beats. Some rehearsals will fail, the scene collapses, the characters dissolve, you wake too early. That's fine. The system learns from the attempt as much as from the execution. Over time, you'll spot which kinds of seeds take root and which wither. Often, the most effective are the ones tied to genuine curiosity or care, rather than obligation. Your brain prioritizes what matters to you emotionally, not just what sits on your to-do list. There's a final layer worth noting, the role of surprise. Dreams protect against mental ruts by throwing in elements you didn't plan. Even in a targeted rehearsal, something irrelevant may wander in, a location from childhood, an odd phrase, a color you've never seen. Don't dismiss these. They can break rigid patterns, adding flexibility to your waking approach. A mind trained only in exact replication can fail when reality changes. A mind accustomed to variation adapts quickly. So tonight, as you wind down, choose lightly. You might hand your dreams a single image of tomorrow's first step. You might offer an open-ended prompt for a creative task. Or you might let the night go unassigned, trusting that rehearsal will happen where it's needed most. Keep your preview gentle, a few breaths, a simple sentence, and then release it into the dark. In the morning, check not for the dream itself but for the shift in how you begin. Did your body feel looser? Did your mind move faster to action? Did an idea rise in the quiet between tasks? Note it, act on it, and feed that result back into the cycle. That's how rehearsal becomes reality, one small, practiced moment at a time. In our next chapter, we'll move from these single-scene rehearsals to the longer arcs, recurring dream themes that accompany you across weeks, months, and years. We'll see why certain symbols follow you through different seasons of life, and how translating those patterns into choices can turn your dream life into a long-term ally for growth. Keep your notebook close, we're about to map the bigger picture of your sleeping mind's design. Some dreams don't vanish with the sunrise. They follow you. Not in exact replication, but in returning patterns, scenes, locations, emotions, or characters that re-emerge months or years apart. Recurring dreams are the long game of your sleeping mind. They are not simple repetitions, they are evolving messages, snapshots of a deeper, ongoing conversation between your conscious life and the vast backstage where memory, emotion, and expectation meet. A recurring dream may take many shapes. For one person, it's a familiar street that appears in unrelated storylines. For another, it's a feeling, a tension in the chest before speaking, a rush of urgency while searching for something never found. These repetitions slip past waking logic. The brain is not trying to recreate the same night for nostalgia. It's returning because the underlying pattern hasn't finished its work. Patterns often link to unfinished processing. An unresolved worry, a skill in progress, a relationship in flux, these can all seed dreams that circle back again and again. But the plot is rarely a direct translation. A fear of failure may show up not as an exam, but as a train you keep missing. A desire for connection could arrive in dreams as a recurring cafe, always filled with strangers whose faces blur when you approach. The surface details vary, but the emotional core is steady. This is where dream work shifts from nightly rehearsal to long-term strategy. If a scene keeps re-emerging, it's worth observing the changes each time. Even the smallest variation, a new doorway in a familiar building, a different time of day, a shift in your own reaction, signals movement. Your mind is using the same set to test new scripts. Recognizing these changes is easier if you track them. You don't need to write every dream in its full storyline, even a few lines upon waking can build a record over time. Include any constant elements, location, feelings, characters, objects, colors, weather. Then note what's different from the last time. Over weeks or months, you may find the story arc moving toward resolution, or notice it shifting focus entirely. Sometimes, the repetition is a stress signal. Recurring nightmares often fall into this category, especially if they intensify rather than evolve. Here, the dream is not rehearsing for future action but waving a flag that something in waking life needs attention. Ignoring it doesn't make it vanish, it just drives the theme deeper underground until it surfaces in more disruptive ways. Addressing the source, whether through action, conversation, or support, can change the dream faster than direct manipulation. Other times, the recurrence is a gift, a place your mind enjoys returning to, a creative engine you can draw from. Artists have built entire worlds from recurring dream cities, scientists have cracked problems with dream solutions repeated until they were remembered. The persistence itself becomes a resource, offering you another chance each time to bring back a piece of it into daylight. You can influence recurring dreams without forcing them. One method is gentle reframing. Before sleep, imagine entering the familiar setting with curiosity rather than resistance. Instead of bracing for the usual plot, walk the location in your mind and focus on something you've never examined before, the view out a window, the texture of a wall, the sound in the distance. This can create space for the dream to change organically. Lucid dreaming offers more direct tools. If you recognize you're in a recurring dream while it's happening, you can experiment safely. Pause the scene, speak to a character, or simply ask aloud, "What is this about?" Dream dialogue may not answer in words, but changes in the environment or your own sensation can hold meaning. Even if the scene collapses, the interruption alone can influence what returns next time. Recurring dreams about specific people deserve careful reading. These are not always literal messages about the person themselves, often, they are representing a quality, role, or emotion linked to them in your life. A figure from years ago might embody ambition, conflict, safety, or betrayal, and the dream replays them when those themes are active again. By decoding the role, you can address the waking life trigger without over-attaching to the literal identity. Certain themes cross cultures: being chased, teeth falling out, flying, falling, unpreparedness. While pop dream dictionaries claim universal meanings, the truth is more layered. The recurrence in your life context is what matters. A falling dream for a rock climber mid-season may have a different function than the same image for someone undergoing career change. The emotional load and life situation are the true code. Sometimes a recurring dream will fade on its own. This often happens when the waking life condition it mirrors resolves. You might even notice the dream's final visit, with a clear sense of closure, a locked door finally opening, a voice saying goodbye, a challenge completed. But endings can be subtle too. The setting appears one last time in the background of a different dream, and you never walk through it again. From a neuroscience perspective, the recurrence may be linked to how memory consolidation works. Dreams draw heavily on hippocampal stored spatial and emotional memory. Recurring locations could be the brain's efficient way of scaffolding new events onto stable, familiar neural maps. Just as writers reuse sets in a television series to save time, the mind may reuse certain constructed spaces to process varied content. For creative work, recurring dreams are gold. They offer continuity in the chaotic landscape of sleep. You can mine them for tone, pacing, imagery, even if their literal plots never make sense. Because they arrive without conscious planning, they often bypass clichés your waking mind might impose. The fact they insist on coming back means they're deeply wired, already carrying an internal coherence you can expand upon in waking projects. It's also possible to seed a new recurring dream deliberately. This involves repeated focus on a chosen image or setting before sleep over many nights. The key is subtle persistence, brief visualization, an emotional link, then release. If the scene catches, it may return spontaneously, growing in detail over weeks. This is how some lucid dreamers build dreamscapes they can revisit at will, a skill requiring patience but deeply rewarding for rehearsal, exploration, or creative play. The long-term arc of recurring dreams can also be tracked alongside waking milestones. You may notice a dream shifting each time you reach a certain phase in work, relationships, or personal growth. It becomes a private calendar, marking your inner seasons in a way no diary entry can. Revisiting these records years later often shows patterns you couldn't see living them in real time. One caution: recurring dreams can seduce attention away from waking engagement if you become overly invested in their world. It's possible to slip into longing for the dream more than living the day. If you find yourself in that pull, consciously redirect the dream's best elements into waking form, paint its colors, write its dialogue, walk its emotional tone into conversations. That way, you honor the dream's value without losing your footing in the present. In the broader architecture of your mind, recurring dreams are anchor points. They hold the deep structures in place while other elements change. By tending to them, observing, gently shaping, and integrating, you maintain a dialogue with the part of yourself that sees beyond the immediate. That dialogue is one of the most enduring forms of self-knowledge available, built night by night, symbol by evolving symbol. In our next chapter, we'll step into one of the most mysterious functions of dreaming, how the brain uses sleep to simulate futures not yet chosen, and why rehearsing multiple versions of reality may be the hidden driver behind adaptability and resilience. For now, keep your eyes open for the return visits. They may be carrying messages from a part of you that refuses to be forgotten. Most of the time, we think of the future as a blank space. Something that will be filled only when we get there. But your sleeping mind treats the future as a landscape worth exploring right now. Night after night, it slips into possibilities, testing paths, simulating choices, running multiple versions of tomorrow's events long before you open your eyes. It's one of the most quietly powerful features of dreaming. You get to live parts of the future in advance, so you can navigate them more skillfully when they arrive. These simulations aren't perfect crystal balls. They're flexible models, like rehearsals in a theater where the set can change in an instant. Your brain isn't trying to predict every detail, it's building a library of what-if scenarios, emotional responses, and decision pathways. By the time you step into a real-world choice, some part of you has already walked its terrain. The seeds for this process are sown during the day. A meeting you know is coming, a challenge you've been avoiding, a journey you're planning, each of these can plant material in the mind's staging area. When you sleep, those fragments don't just repeat, they combine with unrelated memories, abstract concepts, and sensory impressions to form entirely new situations. A future conversation might play out in a location from your childhood. A critical decision could be tested inside a surreal, shifting version of your workplace. The accuracy of the dream isn't the point, it's the adaptability being trained underneath. One of the most valuable aspects of future simulation in dreams is emotional exposure. Daylight thinking can tell you what you should do, but it doesn't fully prepare your body for the rush of adrenaline, the weight of uncertainty, or the awkward pause in the room. In dreams, those feelings can be lived in advance. You might stumble through an awkward handshake, freeze mid-sentence, or feel the flush of making a bold request. Even if the details never match the waking event, the familiarity of the sensation can make you steadier when it counts. Sports psychology has long used mental imagery to improve performance. Dreaming takes this to another level. Instead of a controlled mental playback, you're immersed in dynamic, unpredictable scenarios. For a pianist, that could mean a dream of performing on a stage where the piano suddenly changes shape. For a public speaker, it might mean the audience is made up of animals or floating objects. This unpredictability is the hidden strength. It trains your nervous system to remain fluid when reality refuses to match the plan. When scientists study problem solving in REM sleep, they often find that the brain tests strategies far beyond the limits of waking caution. A future simulation might show you saying the thing you'd never dare say, taking a risk you'd normally avoid, or approaching someone in a completely unexpected way. Some of these dream experiments collapse into absurdity. Others leave you with a quiet sense of having been there, a subtle readiness that emerges when the waking version arrives. This adaptability is the core of resilience in sleep. Life rarely unfolds as scripted. The ability to improvise without panic is one of the most valuable skills you can carry, and the dream world is a constant training ground for it. Because there are no real-world stakes at night, your mind can test extremes without consequence, expanding your range of responses. You can also feed your dream simulations deliberately, much like planting scenarios for rehearsal. If you know a challenge is coming, sketch it lightly in your mind before sleep, not the perfect version, but a few key beats. Picture the setting, hear a line of dialogue, feel the emotional tone. Then let it go. The point isn't to force a specific dream, but to provide raw material your brain can weave into its own test runs. Over time, these seeds can lead to simulations that feel uncannily aligned with waking events. These preview dreams aren't always direct. Sometimes they arrive as metaphors. Instead of dreaming about giving your presentation, you might dream of steering a boat through shifting currents. The emotional rhythm, steering under pressure, adjusting to sudden changes, is what your mind is practicing. When you stand in front of the audience the next day, you recognize the feeling in your body, even if your waking brain doesn't connect it to the boat. One fascinating aspect of this process is the brain's tendency to create branching futures. In a single night, you might live 3 different versions of the same encounter, each one ending differently. In one, you walk away, in another, you push forward, in the third, you find a middle path. The mind isn't deciding for you, it's handing you a menu of embodied experiences so you're less locked into a single default when it's real. Recurring dreams sometimes evolve into future simulations when the original emotional pattern gets resolved. A dream of being lost in a maze might, over time, shift into finding the exit and stepping into a new, unknown street. That new street can then begin appearing in different contexts, each one offering a chance to explore an untested direction in your life. It's worth noting that future simulation doesn't just serve big, obvious moments. It also works quietly in the background for small, adaptive choices: how you greet someone, how you respond to a slight shift in tone, how you adapt when a plan changes midday. Many people wake from dreams thinking that was strange, only to find themselves later reacting more fluidly in an unrelated situation. The link is invisible, but the benefit is real. For people in creative fields, this nightly future-casting can act like a hidden incubator. You might dream of an unfinished song, a painting style you've never tried, a camera angle you hadn't considered. The dream isn't a command, it's a suggestion. By running these possibilities in advance, your mind has lowered the friction to trying them in waking life. Not all simulated futures are comfortable. Some may lean into worst-case scenarios, running through loss, conflict, or sudden change. While these can be emotionally intense, they also give you a trial round in handling the feelings they bring. The key is remembering that you've already stood in those emotions once. It doesn't make the real thing easy, but it can make you less likely to be frozen by it. If you become lucid in a future-focused dream, you have even more room to play. You can fast-forward the scenario, rewind it, or alter a choice to see how the dream reshapes. Sometimes you'll discover that even radically different actions lead to the same emotional tone, a clue about what the real driver of your concern might be. Other times, one small change in the dream creates a cascade of difference, showing you just how much impact a single shift can make. Future simulations also highlight your personal decision biases. If your dream versions of a scenario always end with you retreating, that may mirror a waking habit of avoiding risk. If they always end with you pushing forward aggressively, it may reflect a preference for control. Noticing these patterns can help you balance your approach, both in dreams and in daylight. Over the long term, keeping a log of any dreams that feel future-oriented can be surprisingly valuable. You don't have to match them exactly to waking events. Instead, note the core emotion, the central challenge, the options you tried. Months later, when you face something similar, you can look back and see how much of it your mind had already explored. That awareness alone can strengthen your confidence in navigating the unknown. The evolutionary roots of this ability are easy to imagine. For our ancestors, anticipating danger or opportunity was a survival skill. A mind that could rehearse different responses to threats or resource changes, even in abstract, dreamlike form, would have a clear advantage. While the dangers today are less likely to be predators and more likely to be social, economic, or personal, the adaptive function remains the same. And there's something deeply reassuring about this idea, that part of you is already working ahead, preparing for roads you don't yet see. You're not approaching the future empty-handed. You're carrying a set of half-remembered rehearsals, emotional test runs, and neural maps that make the unknown a little less alien. In the next chapter, we'll take this ability one step further, exploring how dreams don't just simulate the personal future, but also imagine futures for the world around you, blending collective concerns with private vision. For now, as you fall asleep tonight, remember, some part of you might already be there, walking a path you'll meet again in daylight.